Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help. And King of Floors, your vinyl, laminate, and engineered flooring superstore.
Mark Kirton, Donnie and Dolly. A presentation of Able Auctions. If you have assets, inventory, or equipment you need to sell, email sales@ableauctions.ca. And King of Floors, your vinyl, laminate, and engineered flooring superstore. All of our guests today, including Mark Kirton, are sponsored by Basant Motors, your trusted pre-owned car dealer for nearly 30 years. Check them out online at basantmotors.com and follow them on Twitter at Basant Motors. Mark Kirton, former NHL, he played 3 seasons with the Canucks in the 80s, also played with the Leafs and the Red Wings. He is now 63. He's an award-winning real estate agent in Oakville, Ontario, married, father of 3, and Mark is battling, as he has been for a few years now, ALS, and is a big part of an ALS movement pushing for a cure. There is none at this point. Mark, thanks so much for joining us to talk about this subject. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. Very well, very well. Before we get into talking about ALS, Mark, what sticks out regarding your time with the Canucks in a tough period in the mid-'80s?
You know what? It was, especially when I got traded there, because I got traded there the year after the Towel Power Stanley Cup run. And, of course, I got traded probably for a fan favorite, Ivan Boldyrev. So, you know what? We had a pretty good year that next year, but then after that, things started to unravel in Vancouver, and then it got into a rebuild.
You played in the 84-85 season. The late Bill LaForge lasted 20 games as head coach of the Canucks. Pretty infamous period as well. What was he like to play for? Pride, hustle, and desire, and all of that, Mark.
Yeah, well, honestly, I was lucky that year because I started off in Fredericton, so I missed the first 20 losses in a row or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So then when Harry took over, he called me up, and I was up for the rest of the year, and had a pretty good year, and it was an enjoyable year. But yeah, I heard lots of stories. Well, actually, you know what? I did catch about 4 or 5 games with Bill as the head coach, and it was different. It was like going back to the Broad Street days, Broad Street Bully.
Yeah. I always remember Punch McLean. So many people wanted him as the head coach that year. Had so much success with the U.S. Bruins. They end up hiring Bill LaForge, and the rest is history. Hey, Mark, you played for Roger Nielsen, and of course his statue is outside of Rogers Arena. You played for Roger Nielsen both in Vancouver and, if I'm not mistaken, as a junior in Peterborough. What did he mean to you?
Yeah, you know what? Roger and I go way back because I actually worked at his hockey school when I was 15, even before I went to junior. And he drafted me into Peterborough and drafted me into Toronto and traded for me in Vancouver. So we actually named our oldest son after Roger, Taylor Nielsen Kirton. So, yeah, the roots are pretty deep with Roger. But I only had him my first year junior in Peterborough. And then he went on to pro, and then we hooked up again in Toronto. But you know what? Just a saint of a man, and a testament of how great a man is, how many friends he has. And Roger has thousands.
Captain Video, way ahead of his time. Mark, ALS. When did you find out you had ALS, and what was that moment like for you?
You know what? My symptoms started in 2015 when we were on vacation. I had some twitching going on in my right arm, and my hands were spreading, and my arm was getting weaker, and my golf club would slip out of my hand. And then I had a few falls here and there, but didn't think a lot of it. But, you know, as it got worse and worse, I started getting into a lot of testing for about 3 years. I went to Mayo Clinic. I went everywhere, and I actually thought it was Lyme disease, which mirrors this, because I had a positive test on that out of California, but it turned out to be a false positive. So it was March 2018 at Sunnybrook when our world crashed, when we were told that's what I had. And they said, 2 to 5 year lifeline is the average, but there's people that live 10 years plus. And so I just said to the doctor, that's the category I want to be in, thank you. And, and we got out of the room and shocked and stunned and humbled and all those things. And had to figure out a plan on how to tell the kids. And then after that, I had to individually look at myself and say, okay, how do you want to handle this? And I decided to handle it, face on, direct on, and decided I would never change one bit. And I don't want people to change around me. I don't want people to feel sorry for me. And I will continue to chirp and get chirped and live that way. But at the same time, I was quiet, guys, for a while with this because I thought it would affect my business and income in real estate. And I guess about a year and a half ago, I decided to come out with it. And you know what? The business hasn't hurt one little bit. So people are amazing from that perspective.
Hey, Mark, you raised $30,000 in the first 60 hours after launching your fundraising page last week. You've had numerous people in the hockey world, players, Wendell Clark, John Garrett, come and help. It's just a time when you notice when the hockey world comes together and there's been so much support for you?
Yeah, you know what? It really is huge support. But for the start, it's when you get diagnosed with ALS, it's really your family that has it too. The impact's on my life, but the impact's on them as well. And as I weaken, they're sort of an extension of me. So I'm pretty proud of them. And I can sure tell you that the sports world has really come up to the plate as well, as you said. And I had about 24 short video promos, and I was getting them right away from people. Like Wendell's was here within a couple hours of the ask. And so all these guys in media have had my back, and it certainly has helped create awareness out there without a doubt.
Now, June is ALS Awareness Month in Major League Baseball. So, Mark, as more teams and leagues help out, it's better, is it not?
Yeah, you know what? Major League Baseball coming to the plate was absolutely massive for us because it creates that awareness on June 2nd, and a lot of the ball clubs. Now, it was the first year, so, there's some learning to go on how to deal with that day. But at the end of the day, to have our story heard across the land and have it resonate with the people and have them rally to our cause like never before, that's huge. And the current barriers to funding and ALS research and what have you will be energized for sure. Now, what I'm hoping will happen, guys, is that the NFL will take notice of this because, listen, I made a list in an hour of 75 former athletes that have had or have ALS, and NFL's got half of them. And you know what? They've got to take a look at this, especially with Steve McMichael, the recent diagnosis. If you want to watch a YouTube Strong, watch that one. The Chicago Bears, he was a warrior in the mid-'80s for them. And, NFL's got to look at this and put aside a Sunday and get the patches on the players and what have you, because I think they're next in line. And so without the leagues jumping up, you know what? We're going to be the forgotten illness for a bunch of more years. So this has just created that awareness that we needed.
Yeah, how important is it to get the message out to you, Mark? And what are your days like right now?
My days, you know what? I'm all, the one thing about this business is it doesn't affect you mentally. I mean, if obviously then if you want to get depressed, you get depressed. But I don't allow that in my DNA. So from a mental standpoint, everything's fine, and I have no pain whatsoever. So it's just the frustration, like my arms and my legs right now. My legs are fried, and my arms are, they're not that usable, but my shoulders and hips are fine. So I can still type, and I can still talk. I don't have any issues with swallowing or any of that stuff. So at the end of the day, if the treatments that I'm on, and I'm on 2 treatments right now, if they can slow the progression until the magic potion arrives, that's what I'm hopeful for. The problem is that we need to get after the government, and we need to create some faster pathways, because when there is a drug, guys, it takes 2 years to get through FDA and Health Canada and provincial and into our bodies. And, that doesn't make a lot of sense when you got 2 to 5 years, right?
Yeah. And that's why it's important to get the message out. One more thing, Mark. You said earlier, moments ago, that you're going to continue to chirp and get chirped. You're not getting criticized for this, are you at all?
No. What I mean is that I don't want my friends to treat me any different.
Okay.
If there's teasing here and teasing there, like a locker room, that's the way I want it to stay. I don't want people changing and be fearful to approach me because, oh my gosh, he has ALS. Listen, I don't want that. That's not for me. That's what I meant by that.
Yeah, I just thought, this day and age of social media, you never know who's going to get criticized, no matter what their situation
is.
is.
I'm on it. I didn't know anything about Google about 3 months ago, or Twitter, I should say, not Google, Twitter. And I got on Twitter, and you know what? I have not had anything negative whatsoever.
Good.
And I'm trying to be as positive as I can out there and spread the word. And I'll tell you, some of the stories of the ALS patients are pretty tough to watch. But at the end of the day, if it creates more awareness and more people will get loud around us that see it, then all the better, right?
You have on your Twitter account a video of a son having his last dance with his mom. Yeah. It is heartbreaking and hard to not watch. And Mark, thanks so much for this. How can people help you out?
You know what? When they see us approaching the government for different things, if they can get loud and they see petitions going around, and they can sign them, or if they see a donation link for research, which is a biggie, that would be helpful as well. I think those are the main areas, but I think a lot of people now know what ALS is, and they know it is the forgotten illness. Like 80 years, guys, that's a long time. Mm-hmm. And one of the biggest problems here is that the fearless leaders don't last long, right? So they last and they die off, and then everything loses momentum. And then there's a restart. So we've had too many restarts, and so I think that if people would gather behind us and help us approach the government, that would be the best thing to do. Just get loud.
All the best, Mark. Thanks so much for joining us.
Guys, I enjoyed it, and thanks very much for having me. Appreciate it.
You bet.